All right, let's really dive into this because what's happening in Cleveland right now is something that deserves our full attention. This isn't just your run-of-the-mill preseason chatter. This is a full-blown quarterback shakeup, and it's all centered around one name, Shedeur Sanders. So here's the bombshell. Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski just broke his silence about the quarterback situation, and what he said has set the entire fan base, and honestly, a big chunk of the NFL world, on fire. Now, usually this time of year, coaches play it safe. They give you those standard lines. We're evaluating everything, everyone's competing, that kind of thing. But this felt different. Stefanski didn't just acknowledge Shedeur Sanders. He went out of his way to highlight the kid. And that's where things start to get really interesting. He hinted that Shedeur might actually get the starting, not in the Browns' first preseason game. And I mean, hold on. That's a massive shift, because you have Joe Flacco, a Super Bowl-winning veteran, a guy who's been around the league forever, sitting in that room. And yet here comes Shedeur Sanders, fresh out of college, still trying to get his bearings in a professional locker room. And he's suddenly right in the middle of a serious quarterback competition. So, please take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Now let me just say this. When a coach publicly floats the idea of starting a rookie before training camp has even begun, that is not nothing. That's not coach speak. That's a statement. That tells me there's already internal momentum building behind Shedeur, and Stefanski knows it. And here's what really stood out to me from Stefanski's comments. He said, "We're evaluating everything." But it wasn't just the words. It was the tone, the way he framed it. He explained that every rep in OTAs is being analyzed from top to bottom. They're not just looking at who throws the prettiest deep ball or who makes the flashiest play. No, they're watching how these guys react under pressure, how they adjust at the line of scrimmage, how they command a huddle, how they absorb information in meetings. This isn't just about arm talent. It's about leadership, about decision-making, about who can really take the reins of this team. And let me tell you, that speaks volumes for Shedeur Sanders, because from everything we've heard, he's been thriving in those environments. This isn't some wide-eyed rookie just trying to keep his head above water. No, he's showing real poise, real command. He's standing toe-to-toe with veterans and not blinking. Think about the expectations. When he was drafted, he wasn't a first-round guy. He wasn't even a day 2 selection. He came in with the label of being a developmental player, maybe a long-term project. Some folks even thought he'd spend the year on the bench learning the system, maybe even slide to the practice squad if things didn't pan out. But from what Stefanski and others around the Browns are saying, Shedeur has completely flipped that narrative. He's already taking reps in 11-on-11 drills. He's in the mix in 7-on-7s. Stefanski confirmed that Shedeur will be back out there in the next session, getting real snaps with the offense. That's not just a let's see what the kid can do type of thing. This guy is legitimately pushing for playing time territory, and the buzz doesn't stop there. Colin Cowherd, who's always tapped in with some behind-the-scenes info, said something that really caught my attention. He mentioned that Browns ownership could be pushing for Shedeur to start early in the preseason. Let that sink in. Ownership. Not the front office, not the PR team, ownership. That means there's financial and branding interest tied to this. Kid. The name Sanders carries weight. He's marketable. He brings eyes. And you better believe ownership sees that. But at the same time, Cowherd added an important wrinkle. There's some hesitation. The Browns have a game scheduled in London, and throwing a rookie quarterback into that kind of high-pressure, unpredictable situation is risky. You're not just dealing with the opposing team, you're dealing with travel, jet lag, media attention, a different routine. It's a rough ask, even for a veteran, let alone someone still adjusting to the speed of the NFL. So here's what it comes down to. Joe Flacco. He's the X factor in this whole thing. If he comes out and plays solid, keeps The offense steady, avoids turnovers, then maybe he holds on to the job a little longer. Maybe Shedeur waits. But if Flacco stumbles early, if the Browns drop 1 or 2 games and Flacco looks shaky, that door swings wide open for Shedeur. In fact, Cowherd laid out a timeline. He said if Flacco loses a certain early game, we could see Shedeur starting as early as October 12th. And if not then, maybe by November 9th against the Jets, after the bye week. That's when the pressure might become too much to keep the rookie on the sideline. And you know what? I believe it. Because from everything we're hearing, Shedeur is not just surviving out there, he's thriving. Stefanski himself said, "We're throwing a lot at these guys." He said they're giving them different looks, pushing them hard and seeing who rises to the challenge. And Shedeur? He's not just rising. He's making it known that he belongs. He said the Browns are a franchise that lives for headlines. Not just wins, not just slow and steady progress. No, they want spotlight moments. They want drama. They want to be in the national conversation. And the way Cowherd put it, he said, Shedeur Sanders is the kind of guy who delivers that. Point blank, Shedeur is their headline. And then he followed it up with something even sharper. Dillon Gabriel isn't. Now, whether you agree with him or not, you have to admit, that's a powerful take. But let's break that down a little because there's a deeper truth underneath what Cowherd's saying. Look at Shedeur. He's not just another young quarterback trying to make it in the league. He's the son of a football icon. He's been under pressure his entire life. He's been in front of cameras since high school. And through all of that, he's stayed focused, stayed composed, and kept delivering on the field. Name recognition? Check. Charisma? Absolutely. Huge social media following? You better believe it. These are all things that NFL owners, especially this one in Cleveland, value a lot more than most fans realize. We always talk about the coaching staff and their plans, their depth charts, their development timelines. But let's not forget, owners have power too, and they've got their own vision. In their version of the future, Shedeur Sanders isn't just competing for a job, he's the face of the franchise, the billboard guy. The one selling jerseys and drawing attention. I mean, think about the history here. This is the same ownership group that pushed for Johnny Manziel, that traded for Deshaun Watson despite all the controversy, and that drafted Baker Mayfield #1 overall. That's not coincidence, that's a pattern. They want big names and bold headlines, especially at quarterback. And look, I get it. It's easy to dismiss some of this as media hype, but this time, the dots are connecting. Because when Barry brought Shedeur in, he wasn't vague about the decision. He didn't sugarcoat it. He flat out said this wasn't just about roster depth. This was about competition, about shaking things up in that QB room. And now, that competition is real. It's unfolding right in front of us. Barry explained they spent a ton of time evaluating Shedeur. They looked at everything. His tape, his accuracy, how he handles the pocket, his leadership. And even though they didn't go into the draft, planning to take 2 quarterbacks when Shedeur was still there in the 5th round, they jumped on him. Why? Because of value, because of potential. And maybe, just maybe, because they knew what kind of ripple effect it would create. And so far, that move looks genius, because Shedeur has come in with something to prove, and he's been proving it every single day. From the first day of OTAs, he's shown he's not overwhelmed. He's not starstruck. He's not just happy to be there. He's dialed in. He's sharp. He's making reads, throwing with precision, and commanding respect from the coaching staff. That's not just good rookie behavior. That's the kind of presence that forces the conversation. At this point, it's not just about the long-term potential anymore. Shedeur is turning heads now, right now. He's a legitimate contender for the starting job. And that 5th-round pick? Yeah, that's starting to look like one of the biggest steals of the draft. So where does that leave the Browns? Well, it leaves them in the middle of a quarterback storyline that might just define their season. On one hand, you've got Kevin Stefanski playing it cool, carefully choosing his words, giving just enough in his press conferences to keep the media guessing. And on the other hand, you've got Colin Cowherd and insiders stirring the pot, saying ownership might be ready to fast-track Shedeur into the spotlight. And honestly, I think they are. I think ownership sees what they've got, and they don't want to wait. They didn't bring this kid in to sit quietly for a year. They brought him in to change the energy, and whether it happens in week 1 or week 6, I believe that change is coming. Of course, the big question is still this. What's Stefanski gonna do? Will he go with the hot hand and give Shedeur a real shot during preseason? Or will he lean on the veteran guys, play it safe, and slow roll the rookie until later in the season? Because we know how this goes. Coaches want to win now. They're thinking about job security. But the owners? They're thinking about legacy, about buzz, about building something exciting. And the truth is, Shedeur has already shifted the vibe in Cleveland. He's not just the new guy in the room anymore. He's earning reps, earning trust, and making it really hard to keep him off the field. Whether Joe Flacco or any other veteran tries to hold that spot down for a little while longer, Shedeur is right there, breathing down their necks, competing every single day. This quarterback battle isn't just about training camp anymore. It's about identity. It's about the future of the Browns. And Shedeur Sanders? He's writing that story, one throw at a time. Now here's where you come in. What do you think about all of this? Do you buy into Stefanski's calm approach? Or do you think he's just buying time before the inevitable happens? Is Shedeur ready to take over this team? Or should they wait, be patient, let him sit and learn? I want to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's get this conversation going. Because one thing is clear. This isn't just another off-season storyline. This is the beginning of something big in Cleveland. Thanks for watching, and see you next one.